moist for a long time, but not so much that it will not have enough water. So it's usually, so with the planting soil, this would be clay loam soil, which is what we use to grow plants in your gardens. Like flowers. Yeah, like if you tried growing a flower in clay soil, it won't work. Or if you want to explain clay soil.
Clay soil is very slippery when it is wet. When it dries, it is very hard. The color varies. It has many mineral particles. The soil is very fine. It holds water well because it's so tightly packed.
So around here, there's quite a bit of clay underneath the soil around here because the Rocky Mountains are just up north, so that's how the clay soil, the loam soil formed, because wind, rain, beat down the rock into soil, and it all was blown away down to here, so that's why we plant a lot of things. And a few feet, like 2 to 5 feet under the loam soil, is clay most of the time.
You want to guys pass that around?
And then there's sandy soil. So when you think sand, you usually think of beaches, but you can also find it by the banks of rivers, streams, basically anywhere where there's a lot of wind, rain, or just water. Because water grinds down on stone and wood does too. So it beats it down into like small rocks, then it beats those rocks down into sand. So that's how sand is formed. And then how we farm can affect the soil too. Like if you do crop rotation, Ronna, could you explain what that is? Plant wheat 1 year, then plant a different crop the next, plant a different crop the next after that, then go back to wheat. Each one takes out a type of nutrients and puts in a type of nutrients. And if you keep doing this, then the soil will stay rich, therefore making it good for plants. But if you just plant the same thing year after year, like in the late 1930s, also known as the dirty 30s, because when people were just moving down into the lower U.S., like around Arizona and places like that, it turned up a lot of the topsoil and just kept planting the same thing over and over again. So it took all the nutrients out of the soil and it turned into dust and it got blown away. And that is what resulted in what we know now as sandstorms, the dirty 30s, the late depression. I want to pass that around. And a lot of people died. Hundreds, thousands. So
It has some nutrients in it that if you give to the soil, it'll just be the same soil and the next plant will suck that up. So if you plant different plants around, it can also give the soil nutrients by when some plants die, they they shrivel up and turn into dust, kind of. That goes into the soil, and that's actually really good for the soil. And then if you plant new plants in there, it can get the nutrients in the ground, and it can grow bigger and stronger. So it's a better plant.
Well, we are doing managing living plant resources, and first it is how we recycle the plants, and we do that by making a compost out of them, like this picture. And there's greenhouses, which is like an artificial environment. It's when it's cold, they'll grow plants in there because it keeps the heat in and lets sunlight in without like the heat going out. So you grow plants in when it's cold. And then there's hydroponics, like these two pictures. And hydroponics is a subset of hydroculture and is a method of growing plants using minerals, nutrient solutions in water without soil.
Selective breeding is a process by which humans breed other animals and plants or particular traits.
Production harvest is when you harvest a crop, and biological control is a bioeffector method for controlling pests. You would use insecticides, pesticides, or herbicides.
Do you want to talk about those things, what they are?
They're like chemicals that you use to will kill bugs that'll go on the crop so that your crop will grow better without the bugs killing it.
So I'm going to talk about the critical thinking questions. So we have 6 questions. So I'll just go in order how they are on the board. So the first one is, will any plants go extinct? So more plants will probably go extinct because there's already plants that are extinct, and with all of the chemicals and the insects that we're using on the plants, they will eventually die out. So what would happen to the plants if a natural disaster were to occur? So it really depends on the natural disaster. So say, let me think of one. What's a natural disaster?
Like a
Asteroid?
thunderstorm.
Yeah, like a thunderstorm. Say a lightning hits a tree and it sets a forest fire. Then the whole forest could burn down, and if your forest burns down, say there were no trees, then you would have less oxygen in the world. So then does the world have enough food to survive an apocalypse? Well, you could survive for a while, but if it's an apocalypse, most people are gonna, die. So food will quit being generated unless if you do it by yourself. But anyways, food will end up going away because you'll use it all unless you make your own food.
So during an apocalypse, we don't mean it could be a zombie apocalypse, but it could really be anything because let's say if the sun was gone, it would get colder on Earth. It would get colder and colder and colder, and we'd stop being able to make new plants, and so therefore we'd have less food, so we could survive for a little while, but we'd all end up probably in the plants.
So the next question is, what would happen if a human disaster were to occur? Again, it really depends on the human disaster. Say someone lit a forest on fire, the forest would burn down and so on. But if there was a nuke, it could destroy a whole population of plants, and then that area would have no plants. And then the next one is, will plants move like animals in the future? The answer is no, because no scientists have been working on it. There's no study showing that they will. And the last one is, does the world have enough plant produce right now? What we found out was, our answer is no, because if the world did, then there wouldn't be countries starving, because there's already countries that don't have enough plant produce. So some countries have enough, some don't, so it really depends where.
What plants are, if we had enough to go for food in the world, because we don't, because then there'd be no countries.
So everyone knows that we can't live without plants, so you have to think of how to keep plants safe. They need sunlight, nutrient, water, but it's not just natural things that damage the plants, humans can do it too. If we try to modify plants, like corn, we've tried to modify it, there's positive and negative consequences. Like if you use pesticides, it can pollute the environment, the air, and possibly even your fresh water, so you won't have enough water to drink. So remember, everything you do has positive and negative consequences.
I want to know that if you're wondering why I keep saying that we can't live without plants, because trees, they actually make oxygen for us. So if we don't have trees, then our oxygen supply will run out and we won't be able to breathe. But we can give back to trees by taking care of them. And actually, we breathe out something called nitrogen. So if you go,
Carbon dioxide.
oh yes, sorry.
carbon dioxide. If you breathe it out, the tree actually takes that in, and that helps it because that's what the tree breathes in. So if you're wondering what that is not like a human. It just it needs carbon dioxide and it also needs oxygen too.
The question's written up on the board if you look behind you. And
So those are like the critical thinking questions that I was talking about earlier. So what we're gonna do,
we're gonna have these covered up. We're gonna see who can remember the answers. And if you do remember the answers, then you can go up for theirs on it. Whoever has the closest one to the answer wins, I guess. These aren't here. Don't look right here.
Enough plants, something will happen, and then we won't have enough of stuff.
The world does not have enough food to survive in apocalypse
Okay. World does not have enough food? Why not?
because it'll eventually run out if the sun goes away. Then plants will stop moving, but plants will stop growing, and then that means that animals that eat plants will stop reproducing, and they'll start dying, and the animals that eat the other animals will start dying, and we'll start to die because we don't have enough food.
Great answer. Great answer.
Like if there was a forest fire, they would all be gone because the fire burned it, and there'd be no more trees. There'd be no more trees or plants to eat. To breathe oxygen, and if the trees would have died, we would have been breathing in carbon dioxide.
Yeah. Which is actually a poison. Anything other than oxygen coming in is a poison to us. So that wouldn't be good.
And then
Number 2, does the world have enough plant produce right now? So produce is like fruits and vegetables.
no, because some countries actually don't have enough food to survive, and some are actually dead, and there's less people in the world.
Absolutely. Does Canada have enough food?
Yeah.
You think so? Yeah, we eat pretty good, don't we? We're pretty lucky, for sure. What would happen if a human disaster were to occur?
Like if they laid a neutronic bomb on Earth or atomic bomb, the radiation would kill people. Plus, it would also destroy some plants if they were
Yeah.
near.
Absolutely. It would destroy a lot of plants. Now, this has actually already happened once in Chernobyl where there's a bomb that went off. And Japan, you guys have heard about Japan, right? So,
I've heard about the Yukon.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, some stuff fell on the Yukon, but the thing is, we can actually now get rid of some of that harmful material that fell into our ground by planting sunflowers. Sunflowers actually suck it all up, and we wouldn't eat the sunflowers though, right? Because they'd be full of radiation. We would take them and then we would burn them and then plant more sunflowers until eventually our soil would be clean again. It's pretty kind of cool, eh?
Just saying, it's the summer right now. Whenever I look at my flowers, I always see the flower right beside the yellow flower. I always see the red flower sucking the yellow flowers in it.
So the red flowers are more strong than the yellow ones. That happens. That'll happen in the forest too, right? The big trees will get the sunlight first, and the ones at the bottom have to kind of adapt to get it. And that's what we saw in that Dieffenbachia, big leaves, right?
They wouldn't be able to because they didn't have any sense of direction or eyes, so that when they're driving around, they might go into the wrong type of climate, like they might drive into the ocean or to the desert, and then when they hop off their car or something, they suck up the nutrients. There's none.
All right, I like that thought process.
They weren't really designed for that because humans were meant to be like free-moving people who walk around, and also animals were meant to be like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, plants all of their cells aren't developed like ours.
Absolutely, they aren't. Good.
Have little tiny hairs on it.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
Actually, all little, pretty much all plants have little hairs on them. We
three in its mouth.
as three in their mouth for fruits like this, but